Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. This is the weekend rotation. We join you every single Saturday morning with all the game updates. We got a full crew today. We haven't had this in a few weeks. Good to see everybody. All the happy faces here. We're excited about some college baseball. Noah, how we doing today?
I was doing fine until you disrespected AJ like that with the full crew comment. He's
I said
still.
we have a full crew. I didn't say we have the full crew.
Wait, who?
Wait,
Wait,
that's on
who?
me. He keeps
He's
going to the
busy.
bar every weekend. I don't know.
He's got some study group at the bar. Yes, he's getting ready to take the bar again, so we're letting him get all his studying in. So excited though. We got Monty. How we doing, man? We didn't even know we were gonna have you today.
Well, I should be on. I should be in Charlottesville right now, waiting for the UVA game that was moved to noon. Unfortunately, I have car troubles, but the bright side is I get to be here with you guys.
Absolutely, that's my bright side of the day. That might be my something cool. Jake, how we doing today? Or should we say
Uh,
JV football coach?
yeah, sorry for looking like a JV football coach. I got tired of ESPN
I,
not
I have
doing
a
a college
comment as
game day,
well.
so showed up at OU on location here before the game. Not a cloud in sight, so if you see me squinting, know that that's why.
What you got, Noah?
I just thought it was strange how Jake did the like newscaster like pause. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if that's because he's on location, but if it happens the rest of the show, I'm leaving.
That would be because the Wi-Fi is very delayed, so it's about a second later than everybody else. So the tape delay, it's not because I'm an idiot, it's because of the Wi-Fi.
I like it. Noah got the hand to the
Thanks,
ear.
Jake.
Back to you in the
Oh
studio, Noah.
boys. Let's thanks back to you in studio. All right, boys, we're jumping into it. Kentucky 12, Florida 11. Kentucky comes all the way back, takes the lead in the ninth. Florida then gets another run to put it into extra innings. Kentucky takes the lead again in the 10th and wins this game. Just a massive win, right, Jake? And a tough loss again for Florida. They just can't find their way out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every once in a while we're just kind of waiting for Florida to go on. They now sit at 25 and 24, RPI of 27. They do have a strength of schedule of 1, so you almost feel like if they're in that kind of 30 or 8% range, they're going to be the one team to do it. But again, Nick Lopez, Nicky the Kid, everything about this game was just in Florida's favor, and Kentucky just flipped it on a switch. So really excited to see what Kentucky does on Saturday and Sunday. Again, they're almost kind of working into Florida giving up territory. So I think if they can take the game today, the Sunday one almost feels like Florida's going to punt it because again, Florida's now lost a ton of games in a row here.
Yeah, and it's tough to see. I mean, they got production from all their stars there, Florida, and they still can't win a baseball game. That's just a tough look. No, I know we were keeping an eye on this one, and we just kept tweeting out stuff. Man, what a game for Kentucky to come win, and what a loss for Florida.
Yeah, this was one when I first tuned in. It was kind of like, oh, do people realize what's going on here? Florida might be back. They're kind of just floating around the picture right now. Where if they go on a little bit of a run, they can sneak into the tournament, and people will definitely be upset about that. But I thought that this was one where they were maybe turning the page and they were going to be all the way back. And then, typical Kentucky fashion, they just found a way to win. Ryan Walshman has kind of become the beacon of consistency for that Cat Ball Club, and I'm kind of getting tired of Kentucky winning because I know we mentioned AJ and how he's drinking all the time now, but he was spot on about this Kentucky ball club. And I think a lot of us were really, really wrong about what happened with this Florida team. And I know that I have Florida fans who are texting me about not only this year, but the future. They're all worried about NIL money. This has been a total disaster of a season for Florida. And I think we saw that kind of personified last night, even though it was a close game. This season has gone off the rails, and I think it's almost time to pack it in when you blow a game like this where you can really turn it around.
Absolutely, it's just crazy there. AJ was so right on this that he hates universal health care. Moving on to our next game, Clemson to at Wake Forest for Monty. Just a terrific performance there as Wake Forest takes care of business at home. They had to go out and win some of these ball games against a very good team, and the pitching performance is what you got to break down the most. Chase Burns was so good; he is up there for pitcher of the year. I know Jamie Arnold also, but
Yeah.
man,
It's a two-horse race, and it's been that way for a couple of weeks. I think it's interesting because they both went off last night in crazy ways. But I think the big thing is you had the bullpen come in behind Chase Burns and deliver. Cole Rollins has come back from injury. He only came back, early last month. I think maybe late March, but he's already got 5 saves. He's been absolutely lights out and really settled that Wake bullpen that had been struggling mightily. He settled them down, and Zach Johnston came in between Burns and Rowland, and that was huge. But I said yesterday before the game that I was really curious to see how Wake Forest would be after Chase Burns, and not just in the bullpen, but today and tomorrow. Because I feel like they're going to be a very, very dangerous team to face in the tournament, but I want to see how dangerous, and it's going to depend on what they can get out of David Falco's pitching today, and then Josh Hartle. But I want to see if their bullpen can deliver, if they can win games without Chase Burns starting.
Yeah, and if they can, they put themselves right back into that hosting conversation, and they're playing that good baseball again that we want to see. Jake, when we look at this Clemson team, though, are we a little worried about this offense? I mean, they just haven't had the production they've needed as of late, and this is just another one. Now, yes, Chase Burns is a different cat when you're facing him, different cat. But when you look at this Clemson team, 2 runs, not enough.
I should clarify that, Clemson is still a top 5 team in the country. They're likely going to be the highest rated ACC team. But again, they've relied so much on kind of the cardiac cats, late inning magic that you almost kind of expect it at this point. And then when they don't get it against Wake Forest, you really kind of start to look back and it's like, ooh, like, is this the Clemson that we're going to start seeing going forward? But again, credit to Chase Burns. They used kind of that quick week a while back against Louisville to get him into that Friday night role. Ever since then, he's kind of been lights out. Those first 2 were a little bit shaky, but again, the last 3 starts, he's been really, really good down the stretch. No multi-hits for Wake. That was kind of an interesting note. All of their hits were just 1 apiece. And then again, Clemson, the 3-4-5 hitters went 1 for 12 with 8 Ks. Cam Cannarella had that 1 hit. Again, they did a really good job attacking him, forcing him to beat Wake Forest. And then Friday night, that wasn't the case. So credit to Wake Forest for sticking to the plane of attack against those 3-4-5 hitters. And again, is this going to be kind of the new norm for the Clemson where the Magic's kind of run out, or do they bounce back again on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they'll be fine, but I'm with you. It's a little cause for concern, but there's still a couple games this weekend still to determine with the Wake Forest series. I think that Clemson's going to be that top 5 team. I don't think there's any issue there, but a little cause for concern if you're looking at this Clemson team not scoring runs here. Arizona 1 at Utah 6. Monty, I know that you messaged me earlier saying, I get to hear this game. I'm going to listen to this game. It's early. They had to play early because Utah shares with Salt Lake City Bees, the minor league team there. Big performance there from Bryson Van Sickle there to go out there. Another complete game for him. Just terrific. And Jackson Kind on the other side wasn't horrible for Arizona, but there's just not a lot when you can do when your team only scores 1 run to support you.
Yeah, and I was really excited to be able to actually listen or pay attention to some Pac-12 baseball at a reasonable hour. They're doing it again today, and then of course they play I guess they play at 6 tomorrow local time, because I guess the Bees probably play in the afternoon. That's just wild to me. It's normally the reverse of how everyone's going. But it was a really fun game to listen to. It was a really good pitchers duel for a while. Until Utah started finally getting some things together. Brandon Rogers came in after an injury, and he had no extra base hits on the year. No doubles, no triples, no home runs. He hits the lone home run, the lone run for Arizona. I thought that was pretty cool that, in a big spot. But ultimately, it was just all about Bryce Van Sickle and the way they played. And I also am in love with now Drake DiGiorno. Shout out Frozen Pizzas.
Yes.
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Someone needs to do a review of those. Like, line up all the best frozen pizzas and do a review of them.
Yeah, I'm glad he went 3 for 4 because I was fully in just based on the name.
The name is great.
Yeah.
And he's been one of those consistent guys for Utah. Utah, for those who have been sleeping across the country, is a very good baseball team. They continue to win. They're now 1 game back from the Pac-12 lead. They're 1 game behind Arizona. They got a chance to take it and tie that matchup today. I love this Utah team. Bryson Van Sickle has been amazing on Friday nights for this team, and it just goes that he shows up and does big things, especially at home there. The complete game is just a thing that we don't see very often in college baseball anymore, and it's awesome when we get to see those. So that's his second one. He's done it to both Arizona squads in the Pac-12.
Mark,
but just a terrific
before we move on, I should say that as of right now, they are an RPI of 62, so they would be the highest non-winner in the tournament as an at-large bid. So they'd be the highest at-large bid right now.
Yes, currently that would be correct, and we'll get to more of that here when we get into our bubble picks in a minute here, Jake. But I like where your head's
Jake.
at. I like that you're already diving into that. But yes, their RPI is not helping them. Hopefully, this weekend series against Arizona continues to build that RPI back up. Duke 8, Georgia Tech 11. Duke had a late scratch of Santucci, and I think that had a lot to do with what started off this game here for Duke in that Georgia Tech series. Monty, it wasn't a bad start for Duke, but when you lose your ace before the start of the game, it's a tough thing on Friday nights.
Yeah, apparently he tweaked something in warmups. Very quickly found that out. I think during the first inning, during the top of the first, on the Georgia Tech radio broadcast, they didn't find out, and they were trying to figure out whether that counts as a start or not, even though he hasn't thrown a pitch. But I mean, Duke didn't seem to be too bad early on. They took the early lead.
Yeah.
Alex Stone had a 3-run blast to give them a lead. I think they were up 5-2. But Georgia Tech just fought back, and the big reason is John Giesler, and since he's come back from injury, the goose is loose, baby. Like he is lighting it up. I mean, that's not a typo up there. That's 4 extra base hits, 5 RBIs, and that was the big difference. And they really took advantage. They really played well against the Duke bullpen. I mean, they brought in Frano Shell there at the end, and then Charlie Bielenson, and they scored earned runs off both guys. And those are 2 of Duke's best. Obviously, they already had the lead at that point, but the 2 insurance runs they got were off those 2 guys.
And they were massive, right? When you get that extra run lead there, talking late in that game, Duke was going to try to make that comeback, and they kept battling. When you get those extra runs late against some really good arms for Duke, that's huge. Georgia Tech is playing their way into the tournament. They're playing their way into good baseball. They've been getting hot as of late. Noah, I know that you love this Georgia Tech team. Every year you love Georgia Tech for no reason. But anyway, what
There's
did you
good
think about
reason
this one
this
here?
year.
There is a reason this year, and it's Drew Burris. But now the rest of these guys performing, guys are like that. That's terrific. 4 extra base hits.
The goose is loose.
Mark, was there a question in there somewhere?
Yeah, why do you love Georgia Tech and make a stand?
This offense, and then obviously they when you score 11 runs against the Duke pitching staff, you're doing all right. Everybody talks about Drew Burris all year and Peyton Green, but then this bullpen last night really stepped up. Everybody talks about the Duke bullpen, but they turned to a couple guys who were just able to keep it where it's at, which is really underrated in the ACC. Because as soon as you start to figure out what the ACC looks like, it's a lot like high school math class. As soon as you start to get it, all of a sudden the ACC changes and you realize that you never understood it at all. But this Georgia Tech team has some nice pieces. They're definitely a regional team in my eyes. I know Jake and Micah will sit down and make a final authority on that on Sunday. This is a team that I would not want to see in my regional simply because of how explosive that offense is. And if they're going to have bullpen guys step up, that's a really underrated thing in college baseball that you almost don't appreciate it until it's gone.
Is no one going to talk about the Mike Bichetti tag?
I was going to say real quick, the thing that's scary though too with Georgia Tech is we see all the power but they can run. They can run you to death too. Like Younger and Cam Jones and Drew Burris, those guys can steal bases. So they have a lot of different ways offensively they can beat you down.
If they're going to get pitching performances, this team is dangerous, and
they have gotten those performances from Finateri and Cam Jones. They just haven't gotten it in the last couple of weeks, but they've still won some of those games.
Absolutely. Big win there, though, at home against Duke last night. Moving on to the next one here. Mississippi State 5, Arkansas 7. A good battle there. Mississippi State took the lead. Arkansas battles back. This Arkansas team is really talented, and if they get the offense rolling, look out. Jake, I know that you were keeping your eyes on this one pretty tight. Looking at this one, though, Arkansas has finally started to get a little bit of offensive production that they could be really dangerous.
Yeah, I do want to clarify that, Hagen Smith was quote-unquote off this night. He still had 10 Ks, so his off nights are still better than most teams' Friday nights. Arkansas, really kind of their biggest criticism of them has been that offense and playing from behind, just because they haven't done it in a lot. So it seems like every time they play from behind, they lose. But again, they had the Hines double that scored 3 runs. Then outside of that, I mean, the Arkansas pitching staff did a tremendous job. 4 hits, 0 runs from the last 4 innings. Gackle was really great. McIntyre was really great. And then Hudson White getting that little Arkansas kind of signature, not necessarily blue pit, but he didn't get all of it, just muscles it out there to score 2. And that's how Arkansas kind of wins this game so far. So again, Arkansas, it's weird because it seems like it's weird to say that they don't care about these games. But again, it feels like DVH is always kind of playing mind games. He's always trying to find out what can be in that secret sauce so we can get into Omaha. So anytime Arkansas can win a game like this where they have to use a ton of that bullpen, it almost just feels like plus because Arkansas obviously always plays for stuff bigger than this.
Yeah, and getting some production from Hudson White is going to be huge down the stretch for this team, and especially if Eloy gets going as well. This team has the makings to be an Omaha run team, but it's going to take a lot, and DVH will get them there. It's just exciting to see this team moving forward. Not a bad loss for Mississippi State, so State fans, don't worry. You still got a couple more here at Arkansas this weekend. Louisville 4, UNC 14. Man, I every week I want to be more and more impressed with UNC, and Louisville continues to not impress. It keeps going the opposite direction. Monty, big performance though for UNC. You're muted, Monty.
Yeah, my computer told me before you did.
He was saying no Boaz, no problem is what he was saying.
I mean, they haven't had Boaz for almost a month now, Jake, if you were paying attention. But they announced just yesterday he would be out for the rest of the season.
He's done for the season.
But no, they're hard to beat at home. They're almost impossible to beat at home. Apparently, they've only lost one game, and it was a sweep to salvage a sweep from Virginia Tech a couple weeks ago. They are 12-1 in the at home in conference play this year. And, look at all those home runs they're getting. I mean, both Honeycutt and Osuna have multi-homer days, and Sebastian Góngora hasn't had necessarily the best year, but he's still a pretty good pitcher, and they just absolutely lit him up. So you got to love that. And they're even getting the freshmen involved in Gavin Gallagher and Luke Stevenson, who's not on this top performers list. He had a double. So they're getting production up and down the lineup, and they're quietly one of the best teams in the country, in my opinion. I don't know if we just keep overlooking them because they have stayed in that 12 to 14 range no matter what they do in our top 25, and I think we've quietly underestimated them a little bit.
Yeah, I think that people are overlooking them because nothing really they do jumps off paper, but the offense is one of the best in the country, and I do think that they are being overlooked. I like that take there, Monty. This offense is really, really good. Parks Harbor, again, he just keeps performing as well, and when you got Osuna and Honeycutt doing those things with multi-home run games, look out. Especially at home, UNC could be really tough in the tournament.
And their pitching staff is underrated. I mean, Jason DeCaro and Shea Sprague have done really good in the rotation, but the back end of the bullpen where they've got Matthews and Pence and Poston and Percival, those are four guys who are really, really tough to beat. And that's going to make them very dangerous in the postseason.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it, that their bullpen could be right up there with Duke when they're performing like they are, and they have performed as of late. Losing Boaz for the season now, it hurts a little bit, but moving forward, DeCaro's been really good there, and they're just going to keep rolling out whoever they can on Fridays and keep getting wins.
And Aiden Hall has moved into the Sunday role and has been lights out. So if you look at all the ERAs Friday, Saturday, Sunday for their starting pitchers, they're all under 4.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just big performances. So I think we need to start giving UNC a little bit of a boost. I think nationally they're going to start getting that boost also because people are starting to see that offense take off. And if they can host at home, they're going to be really tough to beat there in North Carolina. LSU 7, Alabama 8. Jake, a walk-off error to lose this one. A big win for Alabama at home and a really brutal loss for LSU's attempts to make it into tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a brutal loss to their tournament hopes going forward. Again, this was kind of just like that tag with Bichetti earlier. This was the play that had everybody kind of talking. And I get the rule, and I get that the rule should have been called. But at the end of the day, I mean, LSU's bullpen really just blew this game for them. They really shouldn't have to rely on a rule that's written poorly and a coach helping an injured player to try and win games here. LSU sits at 9-16. If they win out, that would get them to that 70% mark. 4-1 gets them to a 38% mark, and then 3-2 at 18%. I mean, LSU really, really does have to win or go home down the stretch here. Again, Christian Little kind of quote unquote returned to form again. We kind of saw him return to his mean, and then Griffin Herring. Yep, sorry about that. Griffin Herring is one that, uncharacteristically off for him. LSU's going to need to kind of win out here going forward. They need to get in front of their bullpen. That's really kind of always been their issue. And then again, it's do or die time for LSU. And I should clarify, if LSU misses the tournament, Jay Johnson should not be on a hot seat in any way, shape, or form.
How brave of you! Obviously,
Well, I'm
How
you
brave.
know, you talk about it every single thing under is fire Jay Johnson, fire Jay Johnson, fire Jay Johnson. That would be a ludicrous take. Jay Johnson is probably a top
Fire
5 coach in the country.
Fire J.
I don't even think it's probably. I think he is a top 5 coach in the country. I don't even know if it's debatable.
Apologies, I was trying to look at that Mike Bichetti tag video again. That was the little audio blip you heard over Jake. I was trying
the
to
machete.
Yeah, I was trying to retweet that from Georgia Tech, but I held down on it too long, so it just started playing the video.
I should say that they had 6 SEC teams blew bullpen games last night. So over half of the games were bullpen blows. So LSU's not alone in the bullpen issues.
Yeah, but this one hurts. This one hurts if you're an LSU fan, because this one you felt like you had the game locked in, and then you get that little thing in front of the catcher there, and then there's an injury and a bad throw and 2 runs score and they're unearned and you lose the game. Doesn't matter how you lose the game. If you lose the game and you have to get wins down the stretch, it's a rough loss for LSU. If they drop another one here at Alabama, they're on the outside of that bubble, because at 17 losses, that's a tough look. And
they didn't really. I mean, their strength of schedule is good, but it's not like an anomaly good that would get them in at a 38% range.
No, their non-conference strength schedule is not good. So
I know Florida's record's terrible, but Florida at the end of the day has a strength of schedule of 1. So they would, if they would have won more games, they would have been the kind of outlier 38%. But it's not LSU, unfortunately, unless they get in by name alone and they break all of our metrics. That'd be the only way that they could kind of sneak in if they lose one of the next 2 to Alabama.
The world does hate me, so that could happen. Indiana 10, Nebraska 5. Noah, I know that we've been pumping up the Big Ten, and we love how this is going. This was a big comeback win for Indiana and a tough loss for Nebraska.
You hate to take anything away from Indiana, but Nebraska blew this as much as Indiana came back. They had a 5-2 lead, and then it was 5-5 there in the 9th, and then all of a sudden a pickoff error allows Indiana to just go on this run to completely, obviously, take the lead and run away with it. Brett Sears is, and I say this in every sense of the word, the Big Ten version of these Friday aces that you see across the country. He's the Hagen Smith of the Big Ten. When he rolls out there, you better win the game. He's going to be great. He didn't have his A game per se, but he was still good enough. 7 innings pitch, you can see on the screen, 1 run. That's good enough to win when you score 5 runs. That's funny how math works. But this Nebraska bullpen has a lot of growing to do, and it's not the time of the year where you want to be able to grow. This team lost to South Dakota State earlier this week, and people were saying, I wonder if that's going to cost us any chance to host. Yeah, I think so.
Hosting for all Big Ten teams is gone. There's no chance any Big Ten team hosts at this point.
Yeah, they're 4th now. Like they're 4th in the Big Ten.
But
they have an RPI of 38. They're quickly falling.
Here's the thing, Jake, and I don't know how you have do you have RPI like printed? You keep referencing RPI, but the top 6 teams in the Big Ten all play each other this weekend. It's really awesome for the conference, and it's weekends like this that separate the contenders from the pretenders. And having a game like that with your Friday guy on the mound, whereas Indiana doesn't have as strong of a Friday guy, you're at home. Nebraska had to win this game. They had to beat South Dakota State, and they have really let me down this week.
Yeah, it's been a rough week for Nebraska fans and the Big Ten in general. I don't think there is a host, and I don't even know how many teams are going to make the tournament now at this point.
Hold on, Mark. I am very, very excited for the Big Ten tournament because of
I agree. I think it's going to be great baseball, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be multiple teams that make the tournament.
They've let me down.
It's going to be the best tournament in the country because, I mean, Indiana's heating up at the right time. They lost the series. It's going to be quintessential. It's going to be the best baseball with the most on the line. Don't give me the SEC.
You mean the most competitive baseball?
Well, I don't want to see the SEC or the ACC with the consolation prizes. Don't give me that. All of these teams are good enough to be in the tournament. I think that they're good enough to make it to the championship games of their regionals. And there's like 5 or 6 teams that are just like indistinguishable from each other. They all have no pitching and just rake the ball.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's going to be
all those teams are good enough to be regional. I'm lost, Jake. If they're indistinguishable and not good, then why are they good enough to be in the tournament?
I resent the no pitching thing. Illinois' pitching is fine. Iowa has pretty good pitching.
Iowa has. Don't you say Iowa on this show anymore?
I was not in this tier of Big Ten teams that I'm referring to. It's Purdue, Nebraska, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, that kind of tier. I think that they're all. I don't even think Penn State's making the tournament.
I'm just listing Big Ten teams. Maryland.
And I think
I like
Penn State is,
Maryland.
but you do not want to see Illinois in your region. Thank you.
That's fair.
I don't think you want to see Indiana. I mean,
You won't
Indiana
see
can
them in your
slug up.
region, but that's fine. All right, moving
But
on.
I just want to say that I'm the
go
one
ahead.
who I'll be at the Big Ten tournament. Jake will be nowhere near, but I'm glad he made a
Jake
commercial.
also called the Big Ten a mid-major.
Yep, several times.
He's just trying to
Numerous-
get himself some good graces back, but it's not going to happen.
Numerous times.
People in the Midwest don't forget, Jake.
I mean, I had
A&M
Casey's
3.
for breakfast, so I mean, I'm kind of a Midwesterner at this
Oh,
point.
get out of here with that. Miss me with that shit. A&M 3, Ole Miss 4.
This is a family show.
big comeback win for Ole Miss, and A&M doesn't get the offense it needs to win that ball game there last night. But Ole Miss, it's a big win. It's a must win for them, especially if they want to make any noise. They have to do something at Hoover, which means they got to keep collecting wins. And the big one there, they host LSU next weekend, right?
Yes.
I believe. Yeah, so big weekend here for them to beat Texas A&M. I think most people thought A&M would sweep. Jake, when you look at this one here, it's not a big deal for A&M to drop this one. It'd be nice for them to win that game, but big win for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it would have been nice to kind of win this game because I think Ole Miss was kind of just on the brink of folding the tent going home. Now you kind of get the fan base out there a little bit more, so it's going to be a lot tougher of an environment. Evan Ashenbach the last 2 weeks, I think he's just been a little bit unlucky with how he's pitched, where a lot of the balls have just kind of been not necessarily blooping in, but they've been finding holes. But for A&M, the 1, 2, 3 hitters, that's Grahovic, Lavalette, Montgomery, 1 for 13 with 6 Ks. So again, they got to get more production out of there. Then at the bottom of the order, they went hitless too as well. Like lots of people are going to say, oh, they're missing Ted Burton once they get Ted Burton back. I mean, Caden Kent had a home run. Like, it was not the reason that they lost was because Caden Kent played so bad. Again, it was the 2 errors, one from Appel, one from Ashenbach late. And then again, Ole Miss, Maddox was great. Luke Hill was great. Groff did just enough to kind of get this one. And then it's not time to hit the panic button yet for A&M, but you're starting to see kind of an issues arise, and you're starting to kind of get a formula for how you can beat the Saggy team, which again, a month ago almost sounded crazy. But again, not ready to hit the panic button yet. LSU lost 2 of their last 3 SEC series last year, and they were fine. So it's just they're starting to add up. They're starting to kind of get a formula for how to beat Texas A&M.
Well, like you said before, if they don't get that big inning, they seem to not win those ball games, and they didn't get a big inning last night, and then they ended up losing late. Noah, I know this was a big win for Ole Miss. Is there any hope for them for tournament play? Do they have to go take care of business against LSU next weekend?
Well, the reality is that for the end of time now, at least while Mike Bianco's there, we have to say that there's always a hope for Ole Miss because they've proven that there is always a hope. All they have to do is to get into Hoover, win one game, and they're going to make the NCAA tournament according to the 2022 precedent. The wins are going to have to line up, and I don't know if that's going to be the case.
They didn't win a game in 2022, Noah.
They lost.
They lost. Yeah, they lost. They lost to Vandy.
They lost. No, they lost their first game.
I thought they beat Kentucky. Why was I thinking they beat Kentucky? Did they lose to Kentucky?
I thought they played Vandy.
That could be.
They did lose because then I wrote them off and said they have no chance of making the tournament, and then they made the last place in the tournament, and I lost my mind.
Well,
They also went to the notorious postseason winners, Miami. So
Either way, this is a perfect segue for the next game.
Anyway, Ole Miss, timely hitting, good for them. Find a way to beat A&M. You have to wonder if they peaked too early, the Aggies. But Jake's saying they didn't, so that instills a lot of confidence.
Yes, it does. A big win for Ole Miss. They got to go out, and if they can get another one this weekend, it's massive. But really, they got to look forward into taking care of that LSU series. NC State 7, Virginia 5. Monty, another loss for Virginia. We love this offense, but they really have just continued to kind of play a little bit mediocre. NC State's getting hot, though. NC State's getting hot at the right time, and they keep losing pitchers, though.
Well, here's the thing. Virginia, uncharacteristic, poor defensive play yesterday. Casey Sauke drops a fly ball.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later in the inning, that run comes across to score. A little bit later in the inning, a pop-up, Ethan Anderson overruns a easy pop-up, and 2 pitches later, Brandon Butterworth ties the game with a no-doubt home run that at the time made it 3-3. And then later on, there's an easy double play that they're able to get 1 out, but they actually had Pennington tied up, and Godbout dropped the ball, and Pennington was able to get back safely, and then ultimately NC State made him pay for that as well. So uncharacteristic defensive mistakes, but you got to love the resiliency of this NC State baseball team because they're not just losing pitchers; they've lost hitters. I talked to Elliott Avent last night, and they've really bounced back from some injuries. That the breaking news right as during the game that Shane Van Dam is out for the year is massive because he was their bullpen ace. He normally would have done what Jacob Duden had done last night and gone those 3-4 innings in relief. And instead, Duden steps up, but Shane Van Dam out for the year. Elliott Avent confirmed that he's going to need Tommy John surgery. Good news is Logan Whitaker has come back. He apparently was out for 6 weeks with an illness where he might have lost, I think Elliott Avent said like 30 pounds, and he'd never seen anything like it. So he's back. Who knows how effective he's going to be considering how bad that was. Noah Souls in the outfield, he had to come back early. Elliott Avent said a little bit earlier than maybe he should be because Josh Hogue fractured his leg a couple weeks ago against Ball State. So they're overcoming a lot, and they've just been able to keep rolling. I don't know what happened to this NC State team because we seem to kind of have figured out that they were a bad road team, but since we figured that out, they've gone to Clemson and taken 2 of 3. That's Clemson's only ACC series loss. They've gone to Florida State and they won on Friday night. They ended up splitting that because they didn't make up the third game. And now they've beaten Virginia, who's also a very good home team. So NC State seems to be getting hot, which to my credit, I said was going to happen in our deep dive before the season. I said NC State is a team that I see could get really hot and end up being a 2 seed, making a run to Omaha. So right now I'm looking pretty smart. They need to follow through on that, but not to pat myself on the back. But
a lot of injuries though, Monty, and that makes it really tough to make those late runs. But the other side of that coin is that a lot of guys get opportunities that you may not have seen, and those guys have stepped up and played really good baseball. Yep. But to beat 3 different top 10 teams on the road in conference is huge for NC State, and they continue to just be really good. Sam Highfield, another great night for him. Just terrific win there for NC State on the road at Virginia. Virginia's got to bounce back, get a couple wins here, but still, if NC State holds off and wins the series, look out. This NC State team is playing really good baseball at the right time.
Before we move on, Mark, how do you feel
you guys are just excited about this one.
Yeah, sorry. How do you feel about Virginia, Wake, NC State? That kind of seems like it's going to be one of those teams to host, Monty. Who do you think's kind of going to be in the host in those 3? Because it seems like
it's almost like I have a blind reaction for you later in this to see what your think process is here. I almost have a segment set up for you later, Jake.
And Noah is begging you, Mark, to acknowledge
Noah,
him.
I'll call on you in the back of class, sir.
I just had a question for Monty as an ACC guy. Do you ever get tired of Sam Highfield being there for a decade?
He has not been there a decade. He was there in COVID year and was out of the bullpen, and they shortened it, and then he's been there 4 years.
Okay. I believe you.
The mayor of Raleigh. They've got term limits.
We need term limits. Anyway, all right. Enough with ACC. We're going to move on to a different conference. SEC, Georgia has taken the first 2 from South Carolina. The Georgia offense continues to roll. Everybody knew that the Georgia offense was going to be a problem, and they've really shown that as of late. I know when we look at this one here, Noah, that you got to be really pumped if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan because they're playing their way into hosting.
Yeah, this Georgia team, we knew that they were really good because of Charlie Condon, but now they've kind of taken that next step where they're great. They showed the flashes against A&M, and now they progressed through that. It was a series that they lost, but they still somehow looked good during it, and now they're winning those series. So this is a Georgia team that I think they're really clicking at the right time. The pitching is, of course, not going to be as strong as that electric offense when you have a guy like Charlie Condon. But how about Trey Phelps stepping up, the freshman for Georgia? He's been kind of the X factor for me as I watch this Georgia ball club. This is a team that, very similar to their fun rivals in Georgia Tech, it's going to be first to a million, and this is a very, very fun offense to watch because I think that not necessarily the public, people weren't saying it out loud, but people were internally thinking, yeah, this Georgia team's good, but you're only as good as Charlie Condon is. Now I think that they've shown that they actually have depth, which is huge, especially under year 1 under Wes Johnson.
Yeah, when we looked at this team,
well,
we kept
he has
going,
to
where are they going to
9
get
home
innings?
runs in
Where are they
9
gonna get
games,
outs?
Noah.
Sure, Jake, but look at the other guys.
Other guys are stepping up, Jake. And Jake, I'm going to go to you next year.
It's not a Jack Caglione situation. Jack Caglione has 20 home runs in the last 5 games.
Are we concerned that South Carolina? We knew the pitching was going to be a question mark. As of late, they've really been struggling, and to give up these losses at home to Georgia, are we concerned for the South Carolina team at hosting even now?
I think as a host, yes, but I think that they've just been, I think, one of the most unlucky teams in the country. Like, they're facing Georgia in this super hot stretch. They faced A&M a month ago when they were in their super hot stretch at home. So, I mean, this is going to be a South Carolina team that's going to be very, very battle tested. They've taken it on the chin here against Georgia. That 11-5 is a little bit deceiving, as it's a lot closer. It was a lot further away than I guess it should have been with the 11-5 final. They've now lost 2 of 3. I think it's going to come down to South Carolina and Mississippi State, because Vandy's quickly playing their way even out of the tournament. It's going to come down to those 2 teams. And again, this is one that where you would like to win it, but at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt your metrics. Same with A&M. It's really not going to hurt your metrics if you're South Carolina. Just win the games that you're supposed to, take care of business, and I think that they'll be fine. And again, even if there are 2, I think that they travel a lot better this year than they have in years past. And again, this is another one where I'm seeing a lot of South Carolina fans asking for the head of their coach. This would be another stupid decision where it'd be stupid to fire him.
Yeah, I agree. But you got to look at this team, and for me, the fact that the difference for me, Jake, is that they were at home against Georgia. It's not like they were playing on the road like A&M was playing on the road at Ole Miss. Road series are always tough, but at home you're supposed to win some of these ball games. I think South Carolina is going to find a way to win today to make themselves feel good about this weekend. If they get swept by Georgia, that's a tough one for me to say that they are even in the hosting conversation anymore. Texas Tech 4, Oklahoma State 16. My goodness. Jake, I know you were live at this game, correct?
Yes. They came really fast and furious, as through 6 outs, it was 11-0. The backstory of this was Sam Garcia was tremendous again. 7 innings, 1 earned run, really pounded the zone. Texas Tech had a ton of traffic on bases. It seemed like every time they got a hit, Sam Garcia would walk somebody or they'd bounce it back with a hit. And again, he did a great job navigating it, as the only one was kind of a pokey opposite field home run. And then again, the bats for Oklahoma State. I mean, Josh Holliday talked about it. They don't recruit guys who steal 40 bases for their left fielder. They go out, they get probably one of the most dynamic left fielders in the country. Colin Bregman's another guy who's 6'7" that can just absolutely mash. Again, this is going to be one where if they get kind of put in one of those small ballparks as a 2, where they host as the lone Big 12 team, they're going to be a very, very tough out. But again, they've kind of been unlucky the last few years in the tournament. I know a lot of people are kind of asking, hey, what's kind of been the problem with Oklahoma State? They haven't made it out of their regional. All the teams that have beaten them have ended up going to Omaha and winning games in Omaha. So again, if Oklahoma State can kind of get into a favorable regional, they are a talented enough team, I think, to be a problem going forward in the tournament, because they hit up and down this lineup. Their 8 and 9 hole hitters had home runs last night.
Yeah, they can hit. I mean, 16 runs will prove that all day, every day. So big win there for Oklahoma State. Another tough, brutal loss for Texas Tech moving forward there.
That's now 7 in a row for them, Mark, by the way.
I know. That's what I agree. Their tournament hopes are dwindling very fast. It's tough in Lubbock right now. Evansville, the Purple Aces 4 at Indiana State 5. Noah, Indiana State piling up wins. They're trying to play their way into a hosting spot here. We'll talk more about that later, but a good win to beat the Purple Aces at home.
Yeah, there's some projections out there that have Indiana State hosting yet again, and I know that TCU had one of them in Terre Haute, and TCU fans were like, oh, that'd be a fun matchup. I'm not so sure it would be fun, because this Indiana State team is really good. You can tell they have that chip on their shoulder after last year. Comeback fashion for them last night, but this is still a team that can really hit the ball. Adam Poniger goes yak. Dominic Listy goes yak. This is a team that they can hit the ball. The pitching, again, is always not as strong as it was last year. They had really strong starting pitching last year. That's something that has held them back just a little bit. That's why they had to come back yesterday. But this is an Indiana State team that, as we keep saying, you don't want to see them in your regional. In this case, you don't want to be in their regional, especially if they can somehow try and manipulate another Special Olympics kind of weekend.
I was going to say,
still getting phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask if they had that same thing scheduled for Super Regional weekend.
Let me check that out. I don't know if that's
yeah, that's what I was wondering, if it's an every year thing. What if they did it again?
Didn't we raise like $30,000 though for special?
Aren't the Special Olympics every 4?
No, Jake.
Isn't it every 4 years? Is it like the regular Olympics?
We can't really laugh when Jake says it, because Monty and I just said that as well. But
no, it's every year. They do
It is June 7th.
Oh, yeah, you're the one who gets all the pamphlets. Yeah.
Yeah. I get phone calls twice a
Did they
day
not
from
have
Special
put
Olympics.
dates in the stuff that they sent? Yeah.
Yeah, no, they just want my money. They got me. They know that I love giving to
Yeah,
You should
people.
volunteer.
I have breaking news. It does line up exactly with Super Regional weekend again. So if Indiana State hosts a Super Regional, that's hitting the road.
Ugh.
Are they hosting the Missouri Valley again, Noah? Because that was the
I
thing
have
that
no
they
idea.
complained about last year was they hosted the Missouri Valley, then the regional, so they were really kind of overworking their employees. So I wonder if they're hosting their regional again or
Boo.
their
You're
conference
overworking
tournament.
your employees when you're hosting a regional. I don't really feel bad for you. Let's move on. Tennessee 8, Vanderbilt 4. Another loss for Vanderbilt, but a big win there for Tennessee. Jake, Tennessee continues to pile up these wins and staying in the top 5 and number 1 in a lot of polls now. We got to be pretty happy, though, if you're a Tennessee fan getting that win 8-4.
I mean, I guess Daddy's home for Tennessee. This is now 8 in a row for the Volunteers. They're heating up at the right time, kind of doing the hot, cold, hot. Vandy sits at 11-14, 1-7 in their last 8. 2 weeks ago, I know a lot of Vandy fans were tweeting, "Hey, do you see us missing the tournament?" And their beat writer was, "No, like they really only have to win 3 of the next 12, and I don't really see that happening." They are now 1-7 in their last 8, and quickly finding themselves out of it. They've had a ton of bullpen issues. Tim Corbin doesn't really have that guy that he can go to kind of in the back end of that bullpen like a lot of these teams that were top 10 like Vandy had. It almost just seems like everybody that they put out there is so overwhelmed by having to go out and close the game that, Tim Corbin really just kind of, it seems like he's drawing names out of a hat, hoping he can get it. And again, Tennessee, it shouldn't be exemplified what that they did. Tennessee is still a great team, but again, the story of this one is Vandy's quickly running out of chances to get their 3 wins in 12 games.
Absolutely. Noah, you got anything to add on that last series there, Tennessee? We know that Tennessee win is big. I think the loss for Vandy is bigger, like Jake said.
Yeah, I think as Jake kind of danced around but didn't really say it, I think it's almost a changing of the guard, at least in the state of Tennessee. We've seen the last few years now that Tennessee has had their way with Vanderbilt, and I'll tell you, it's not just on the scoreboard. You watched that game last night, and it was played in Nashville, but that was a home game for Tennessee. It was all orange.
Fans were there, yeah.
Very, very, very loud. Tennessee looks like the more complete team. And post game, Tim Corbin is saying, "Yeah, well, we might need Jesus Christ to walk through the door," or something to those effects. I think it's just a sign of the adjustment of this new period of college baseball that Tim Corbin dominated the last era. Kind of moved on to a different era. He has to adjust. We saw a guy like Dave Van Horn has adjusted. Can Tim Corbin make those adjustments? If not, then I think we're seeing the official Tony Vitello is here and here to stay in the sense of being a power in this sport. Absolutely.
And there's no reason for him to leave Tennessee. People keep talking about him taking other jobs. There's zero reason to leave Tennessee. That is a great job and a great stadium and a fun group to be a part of. Monty, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about Florida State and Pitt. I know that we didn't have them on our original breakdown list here, but Florida State gets shut out by Pitt, but Jamie Arnold throws just a gem.
There were 2 gems. We can't overlook Ryan Andre and his. But Jamie Arnold goes 7 innings, strikes out 17, gives up no walks. Unfortunately, he gave up just 1 solo home run to Luke Cantwell, who's a really underrated hitter. And ultimately, apparently, that was all Pitt needed because they rode Ryan Andrade again for he went 7 innings plus, or he only went, I can't remember if he went 7 innings plus or a little bit farther than that. But then Phil Fox comes in, and Phil Fox has been lights out of the bullpen for them as the closer and has a sub 1.5 ERA, and he shut the door on this explosive Florida State offense. Just an absolutely stunning upset on Friday night for Pitt at home against one of the best teams in the country. Jamie Arnold, though, I think he's got 1 start left before they make that vote for ACC Pitcher of the Year. And I know Chase Burns just had a 16 strikeout game, but I think Jamie Arnold might have wrapped it up with some of those numbers that he's put up over the course of this season. It's going to be between those 2, but I think Jamie Arnold's going to have the edge, even though he lost this game. It just the ERA and the opposing batting average, and he's up there in strikeouts. I mean, he's not quite what Chase Burns has done. I think he's still like 25 strikeouts behind Burns, but just an unbelievable season from the sophomore lefty from Tampa.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this. I love Jamie Arnold. I think that my vote would be for him, but I think that what the committee is going to vote for in that ACC, I think that they're going to give it to Chase Burns just because the name and the way he's pitched and the strikeouts and the electricity that he brings to the ballpark is just a little bit different. But I love what Jamie Arnold has done to Florida State. It's a huge comeback for Florida State. They didn't win last night, but a big turnaround from last season.
Lonnie,
ECU
I
5-2.
believe. Well, hold on. I believe Luke Cantwell had the double last week too, so he's just kind of been Mr. Friday Night Clutch for Pitt. He's
I
one to
mean,
watch.
he's
Friday
their
night
best.
games.
He's their
He's their best
player.
hitter. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, absolutely. Luke Cantwell, and he was somebody again in their deep dive with Pitt. I said he's going to be one of their top hitters. You know, Fairleigh Dickinson transfer, but I was a big fan of his right off the bat, pun intended.
Right off the bat. ECU 5, Tulane 6. These kind of losses can hurt ECU as far as being a national seed as they keep going forward. It's
They
not a great loss for them.
they lost midweek to Duke as well. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The losses are starting to get there. I do love this ECU ball club. I think that they'll be fine, but you can't lose games to like teams like Tulane if you want to be uh, a mid host, and just to be that national seed, it makes it pretty tough. Troy also lost 0-6 against Texas State. Texas State's a good ball club, not as great this year as they have been in the past 2 years. Who did something cool? Noah, I'm going to let you start here. I know you're excited for this segment.
Yeah, for me, it was Northeastern. They were down 6 runs in the 8th inning, and they came back to win it in extras. This is a Northeastern team that you almost kind of think, oh yeah, I'm sure they're taking care of business. They're in third in that Colonial Conference, or Coastal, I guess is what it's called these days. But UNCW leads that conference. It's going to come down to it. I think that they have kind of a good hold on that. But that's going to be a really fun conference to watch as we go into the postseason and kind of who gets in the tournament, who doesn't, because there's some really good teams out there. But Northeastern just has this edge to them that hasn't gone away, and it was really great to see them win that against College Charleston last night.
Big win for Northeastern there to go get that one. Monty, who did something cool?
So I actually have two. The first one I want to start off with is East Carolina, and before the Duke game during the midweek. Duke's athletic trainer, his son, was recently diagnosed with cancer, and ECU, for those of you that don't know, have a pretty big charity, cancer charity called Homers That Help. And before the game, Carter Cunningham, who's a big part of that charity, went out there and gave them a package, a care package that was really nice and really important to see. But just so you know, whenever ECU hits a home run, somebody's paying for that home run in terms of the charity, and I think that's a really cool thing and something that transcends the game. It didn't matter that this was the opposing team's athletic trainer. This is all a baseball community. I thought that was a really cool thing for East Carolina to do, and for Carter Cunningham to go out there and personally deliver it was really cool. And then the second thing that's cool is we have the debut of Mr. Paul Skeens today. This is the most anticipated pitcher debut, I think, since the Steven Strasburg debut that I actually went to about, oh my God, almost 15 years ago, 14 years ago now, June 8th, 2010. I was there, and that was a turning point for that franchise, for the Nationals, watching Strasburg. It was the first time I'd ever seen a Nationals game that felt like a playoff atmosphere. It's going to feel like a playoff atmosphere today at PNC Park.
100%. Noah, yeah.
That was against the Pirates, yes?
It was. That's true. That was against the Pirates. 14 strikeouts against the Pirates. Delwyn Young had a home run, and that was it. I think he had a 2-run home run. But, yeah, Ryan Zimmerman hit a home run. Adam Dunn hit a home run. But, yeah, it was a very, very strange experience for me, just because I'd never seen Nationals Park or a Nationals home game when they were at RFK be that electric. And I was like, is this what a playoff atmosphere feels like? And we'd have to wait a couple more years to really experience a playoff atmosphere. But I'm really excited to see how Paul Skeens does and how quickly he got up there. And it was so cool watching him last year at LSU. So I'm excited for him to have a big debut today.
Yes, and Monty, you said the keyword Adam Dunn. He's my golden god. I love Adam Dunn. So
the donkey, yes.
Jake, something cool, buddy.
I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily cool, but with TCU kind of getting their Big 12 break, Peyton Tully's mom obviously passed away this week, so that was why he was out on Friday night. You know, just kind of having the freedom to go out there, be with his family during that time. I think that was kind of a cool thing to see with TCU. That, you know, you never really kind of pick when something like that happens, but it seemed to kind of did happen at the perfect time, so we could go and kind of deal with that side of it. And then another side, Texas winning Friday night games at UCF on the road. UCF's kind of one of those teams that's been flirting with the bubble a little bit. Texas has kind of been flirting with the 2 seed, but there really has been their Achilles heel of those Friday night starts. So Texas going out there on Friday night, taking care of business, really sets them up nice. They're tied for second in the Big 12 now.
Yeah, they're getting back up there. They're still a bubble team. Yes, Noah.
Jake, since you have gone on record and say that Texas has a path to hosting, and you also have everybody's RPI in front of you, can you just read Texas's RPI, please?
I don't have Texas's RPI in front of me.
It's 44. It is 44.
It is 44. 44 would be the highest RPI ever for a host. I think that there is a path for them still to host. It would involve them winning the Big 12, which I believe OU is up 3 games with 5 to go. But Texas does hold that tiebreaker. They hold the tiebreaker too if it gets in a 3-way tie. So again, I think if Texas wins the Big 12, they win a few games at the Big 12 tournament. I think that there still is legit. I think that they can get into a 25-30 range, and OU's RPI drops below theirs because OU is 500 outside of Big 12 play. I think that they have to have an RPI similar to OU and Oklahoma State. Right now, it's an outlier. But again, I think that there is still a path for Texas to host.
All right, here we go. My something cool is Bryson Van Sickle for Utah. We talked about it earlier in the show, but to go a complete game and shut down the team that's number 1 in the Pac-12 and an Arizona team that everybody is saying very, very hot, he shut down Mason White, their best hitter, which was just incredible to see. Bryson Van Sickle, tip of the cap to you, man. You're something cool.
I should have stolen yours because you told us that's what you were going to do. I should have messed with you and been like,
just. I could have pivoted. I'm pretty good at that. I could have gotten somebody else up there, but I really thought that his just that performance, especially being so early and allowing a lot of people like Monty on the East Coast being able to hear that or see that and be able to witness how good of a Friday night starter this kid has been for this Utah team. Utah's good. Big win for Bryson.
10 a.m. local time is wild.
I thought, Mark, you want to go Bazzano with the steal record because he broke another Oregon State school record last night. So he just keeps
breaking every offensive record, and Oregon State also broke 100 home runs, which is the most ever that they've ever hit in a season.
That's bananas.
That's bananas. All right. On to our last segment here today. We're doing a new segment. It's called a Pick 2, where I'm going to give 4 blind studies here, and I want you guys to be able to pick 2 of the teams, and I'm going to let you guys try to guess these teams. All of these were taken Tuesday night, so before those games Tuesday. So the RPI might be different than what it is currently today. The record is certainly different because they've played some games. But these were all done Tuesday evening, so those of you who are like, that's not what it is now. I know, but I didn't want these guys to know all the answers either, so I had to put in the stuff on Tuesday so they wouldn't have these answers. All right. Team A, RPI of 51. We're using Warren Nolan RPI, by the way. That's who we use for our RPI. A record of 30-19, strength of schedule 27. Q1, that is all Q1 opponents. Their record against them is 8-7. Non-conference record of 15-10. Team B, 53 RPI, 30-20, 41 strength of schedule. 3-11 against Q1 and 18-5 in non-conference. Team C, RPI of 55, 30-15, strength of schedule 113, Q1 4-5, and non-conference of 15-6. And then Team D is a Warren RPI of 58, record of 28-17, strength of schedule of 78, Q1 5-2, and non-conference 14-4. Noah, which 2 teams would you take into the tournament?
Oh, I get 2. Okay,
2 teams.
If you're giving me 2, I'm definitely taking Team A.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go with Team.
You want to go with Team D? Trust me, Noah.
Okay, I'm thinking it's Team D, but that also feels like the wrong answer. So, but I'm gonna go Team A and Team D.
I will reveal these after everybody goes. Monty, who would you take?
I would take Team A and Team D.
I want B and C.
Oh, no, that's a mistake.
Team A and Team B.
Team A and Team B. What team do you think Team A is? Noah?
I'm horrible at those guesses. I couldn't even tell you.
Team A is Texas. Team
That's
A is Texas. That's why I love this segment. Team A is Texas. Team B is Texas Tech. Team C, who nobody picked, is Utah.
Yeah, exactly.
I told you, Mark.
I know. That's why I did the segment, Jake, so you can take a look at all this and be. Do you know who Team D is? Noah, you'll love this. It's Cal. That's the Cal
Yeah.
Golden Bears.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Go Bears.
When you look at the blind reacts, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But yeah, so a lot of votes
Look,
there.
are they going to miss the Pac-12 tournament, Cal?
No, they're in fourth. They're in fifth place, buddy.
Jake, you should. If there was a podcast, you should listen
If
to
only
it.
there was a podcast where somebody broke this down for you every week and told you where they're sitting. All right, next slide. These are some bubble teams that are in the SEC. SEC much? Team A.
Oh wow, we've heard that stat repeated like 8 times from Jake.
Yeah, so I'm guessing we can guess who that is. RPI 23, 24, and 23, strength of schedule number 1. Q1 record 10 and 14, 14 and 9 non-conference. Team B 34 RPI, 31 and 18, 22 strength of schedule, 4 and 11 in Q1 opponents, and 22 and 3 non-conference. Numbers: Team C, RPI 25, 25 and 22, strength of schedule number 2, Q1 9 and 16, and non-conference 16 and 7. Team D, RPI of 14, 29 and 18, strength of schedule of 4. Q1 is 11 and 16 and 19 and 4 overall. Which two get in?
Who are you asking first?
Noah. Noah gets to start every time because he's at the top of my list.
It was nice of you to rank us.
What's my RPI?
2.
Why'd you say it like that?
Oh, this was tough. I feel like I'm falling for like a huge SEC bias, but I know they're all SEC. We're taking 2 still?
Taking 2.
Okay. I'm going to take Team B. Feels wrong. And then
Today, Junior.
yeah. Well, I'm worried that
Blind
I'm.
react.
You realize, Noah, that you're not going to be like. There's not really a consequence here.
Yeah, there
Come
is.
on, man.
There is because I'm actively rooting against. I think I'm actively rooting against Team D, but I want to pick Team D.
You're actively rooting against Team B.
Who'd you take?
And he already took Team B.
You took Team B and Team D. No,
Yeah,
Monty,
sure.
who you taking?
We need B and D.
I'm going to take B and C.
B and C. Jake, who you taking?
I'm going to abstain because I know who all these teams are. So.
You know, okay, who's Team A?
Team A is Florida.
Team B?
LSU.
Yep. Team C?
Alabama.
No, Team C is Ole Miss.
Oh, wow.
Team D is Alabama.
Oh, I got them backwards, but I knew the
Damn,
first two.
I was hoping somebody was Auburn. Just kidding.
No, Auburn. I didn't want to put. They're not on that list.
Auburn's not conference.
It is crazy to think,
I
though,
love
that 2
Auburn.
of these teams may not make the tournament and probably shouldn't make the tournament. When you look at these resumes, 2 of these teams are probably out of the tournament.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yep. That's why the blind reacts go. All right.
It's more Notre Dame.
We're assuming
More likely Notre Dame
on
gets
this
in.
Notre Dame's not even. I'm not even talking Notre Dame. This one here, we're assuming that ECU is hosting, okay? So I'm letting you pick one of these teams to be another mid-major host. You get one team. So Team A, RPI of 10, 34 and 10, 62 strength of schedule, 3 and 5 in Q1, 17 and 6 in non-conference. Team B is RPI of 16, 31 and 12, 70 strength of schedule, 3 and 3 against Q1, 14 and 8 as a non-conference. Team C, 20 RPI, 34 and 12, 72 strength of schedule, Q1 6 and 1, and non-conference record of 22 and 6. Team D, RPI of 26, 34 and 10, strength of schedule 104, Q1 record of 3 and 1, and non-conference of 19 and 4. Noah, which other mid-major are you taking to host?
I'm going to go with Team C with a shout out to Team A.
Team C, shout out to Team A. Okay. Yep. Monty?
I'm going to let them all host.
Okay. Well,
let me talk. All right, let's talk about hotels. And are they going to have to stay in a dorm? Like, what are the facilities like?
I will say that each one of these teams have the ability to host. I have already checked. They all have the ability to host. At least that's what it says.
I'll go with Team D for the memes.
Okay. Team D for the memes. I like it. Jake?
I'll go with Team B.
Team B. So, Team A is Indiana State.
Shout out to them.
Team B is UCSB Santa Barbara. Team C, Jacob surprised there, DBU Dallas Baptist. And Team D is UC Irvine, Monty.
Woo!
Wow. Okay. So Team D was the right answer.
Yes.
But is it? I mean, it's strength of schedule of 104. I
For the
don't know.
memes.
I think the
For the
UCSB Team
memes.
B is crawling their way back up into this, but I like the memes. You had it, Monty. You were
Monty,
right.
can you do an anteater impression?
No.
Okay,
Make
One of my
Monty.
dogs can. Let me
Here's-
grab one.
Here's
Do
the
anteaters
last.
make noises?
They're guinea pigs. They're just giant guinea
Yeah,
pigs.
they're
That's all
just
they are.
big. Yeah. The last one here. ACC conceded. So which one of these two of these teams are going to be national seeds? Clemson is not in here, just to give you a heads up. Two teams not Clemson. RPI of 12, 35 and 12, 31 strength of schedule, 7 and 5 Q1, 21 and 2 non-conference. Second team, Team B, RPI of 7, 35 and 10, strength of schedule of 19, Q1 7 and 7, non-conference 21 and 1. Team C, RPI of 22, 32 and 14, 33 strength of schedule, Q1 opponents 10 and 9, non-conference 18 and 4. And Team D, RPI of 6, 35 and 11, 15 strength of schedule, 6 and 7 in Q1 opponents, and 18 and 4. Noah, take two. These are going to be national seeds out of the ACC.
All right. So I'm definitely going to get this one wrong.
Yeah.
The Team C stats don't make sense to me, so I'm going to pick Team C, but I have a feeling there's like a trick there because it doesn't make sense how you play 19 quad one games but have the worst strength schedule on this graphic. But I'm going to go with Team C, and then I'm going to go with – they're all so good.
They're all going for national seeds, so yeah, they're pretty good.
The fans who get to experience the regionals.
Yeah. Team C and Team D.
Team C, Team D. Monty?
I'm taking Team A and Team C because I would like them to host because they're nearest to me.
That might be true. Jake?
I'm gonna go Team B because selfishly that's the closest one to me, and I think I'm gonna go that one. And then Team D, B and D.
So, Monty, I'm assuming you know that Team A is Virginia.
Yep.
Team B, of
Florida
course,
State.
Florida State. Team C,
Duke.
Duke.
Yep.
And Team D is UNC. I was shocked at looking at UNC's stuff with the blind react. I was like, why are we not talking more about this team?
I already knew this.
know.
They just quietly go about their business and no one cares.
Yeah, they have the best strength of schedule. They
Everyone
have
goes,
the highest
they lost
RPI.
Everyone just goes, they lost that series to ECU back in
No.
February.
We're talking about ECU as being a national seed, and we hate them.
They
for
did
it.
win on Friday too, so they beat you savage.
Yeah, that was the
they
one.
beat their best player.
That was the one where I was like very confidently was like
Yeah.
they're gonna win this series because they beat you savage, and Noah was like, I don't
And then-
know, and then Noah got to be right.
No, I got to make like a AI generated meme of me and Monty saying, "Oh yeah, there's no way ECU wins."
There's no way that they can lose this.
But yeah, North Carolina very underrated. They've quietly just. I mean, they probably prefer it that way.
Yeah. Final thoughts here, Jake.
Just excited to see another great day of college baseball. There's a ton of conference games, conference alignments, seeding that's going to take place. Really hoping to see some clarity there, especially in the Big 12. Hopefully OU drops a game. So next weekend when I'm at Oklahoma State, it's a meaningful series when they're playing at Houston. But it feels weird rooting against the home team. I feel like Noah.
I hope the SID isn't watching. He's gonna pull your creds.
He's been like, oh yeah, you can go watch this from the parking lot like you're in now.
Yeah, just stay out there.
The cheers and the jeers. Yeah, that's what.
Bonnie, final thoughts today.
I'm just disappointed I'm not going to be able to go. I mean, UVA and NC State has now started. They moved that game from 4 p.m. to 12. They've got a lacrosse game going on at the same time. I don't know why they would do this, but yeah. And apparently
the North Carolina thing.
It's an East Coast thing. We don't have that
well,
in the Midwest.
I was like, it's at UVA, so.
Money, if the game starts at noon, you still have another hour.
Yeah. It takes me an hour and 20 minutes to get there. And again, my car has a leak.
Yeah. Noah, final thoughts, buddy.
Just looking forward to seeing how the Big Ten shakes up, which is not something I say about other sports. But the Big Ten, the top six, they're all playing each other this weekend. We got up to a little bit of an interesting start last night. Nebraska apparently isn't interested in being in the top six anymore. But I'm interested in seeing what this looks like as we head into the Big Ten tournament, which is everybody talks about the Hoover rain delays, but the Big Ten tournament is so bunched up because they just like schedule it so oddly that one rain delay literally messes up the whole week, and all of a sudden you're playing at 3 a.m. every
3 in the
night.
morning.
Yes.
What's
Every
Yeah, they
crazy,
do
Noah,
4
is
games, right?
I just heard on this show that that's going to be the most exciting conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said it's the most exciting.
From Big Ten expert Jake McKeever.
No, I heard from from an MLB draft.
Spit it out, Spalding.
Thanks, Jake. I take a few weeks off and I start sounding like you. But I heard from I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
He heard from an MLB draft expert.
Yes, an MLB draft expert in Jake McKeever.
I'm excited to be in. I'll be out at Goff Stadium tonight watching the baseball there. We got the senior night there for Oregon State, and they're taking on UCLA Bruins. And Monty, we get to listen to Utah in about 52 minutes here. Taking on Arizona. So
they
really excited for those. Thanks
played
again for joining us on the weekend rotation. Very excited to be back again. We'll see you guys next Saturday morning, same time as always. For Noah Darling, Monty Taylor, Jake McKeever, and myself, we'll see